Good afternoon, everyone. This is so very, very important. And I stand here today with our incredible police director for Miami-Dade County Police Department, Freddie Ramirez, and the Dade Chiefs, and our state attorney, Catherine Rundle, to announce Operation Summer Heat. This is a proactive enforcement strategy that is targeting the violent offenders in our community with zero tolerance. This is a critical part of our strategy to keep Miami-Dade safe this summer and to prevent further violence. This will involve the Dade Chiefs Association and all of the great law enforcement personnel you see here today. It's comprised of the county and all of our municipal police department agencies in Miami-Dade County, along with our state attorney and our federal partners as well. This past week has seen our community struck with an enormous tragedy, multiple enormous tragedies, due to the despicable act of a few bad actors. Too many lives and too many families have been torn apart, broken, due to these random acts of violence. And so I must be very, very clear. This is absolutely unacceptable, and we must put an end to this cycle of violence and these senseless killings. We must, and we will. With our Miami-Dade County Police Department, working alongside our federal, state, and our municipal law enforcement agencies, we will use every available resource to swiftly bring these criminals to justice. I'm committed to making sure that our law enforcement agency has every tool that they need to get this job done, to solve these shootings, and to prevent the next tragedy. Operation Summer Heat is a crime-fighting initiative that is going to reduce violence where we live, where we work, and where we play, and it will expand our capacity at the Miami-Dade Police Department and our municipal law enforcement capacity to tackle gun violence as we head into these critical summer months. It will be strategic enforcement to identify those violent offenders that are plaguing our communities, and we will proactively work together, as you'll hear, we are already doing, to build these cases. So no man or woman should feel comfortable driving around with assault weapons to commit a crime in a stolen vehicle. This will not happen, not on our watch. No one should feel comfortable. The police agencies are united, as you can see, and make no mistake about it. We will be tracking down these violent offenders. To that small percentage of bad actors who are terrorizing our community, you know who you are. You will face the full weight of the law. You will face the full weight of the law. Convicted felons in possession of illegal firearms, we will use the resources of the federal government to pursue the maximum amount of time, the maximum. And we're approaching this from a code enforcement perspective as well. We're going to crack down on those businesses that have been operating illegally. Some of the violence is taking place at these venues. So starting tomorrow, this weekend and beyond, we will be sending out strike teams, 17 teams in fact, code enforcement officers that will work alongside our law enforcement agents, and they will shut down illegal businesses that are operating wherever we find them. The safety and the well-being of our families, of our communities, is my top priority, and we must work together to make sure that we can protect our residents and to keep our streets safe. And we will take back our community. We cannot live in fear, and we will work together to take back our community. And finally, we know that to really stop crime in our county, we simply must do more. We cannot only apprehend those few bad actors that have already committed the crimes, but we must also act to prevent crime before it happens. The Summer Heat Initiative, which we're announcing today and is so critically important to solving these crimes, is going to work in sync with the Peace and Prosperity Plan, which I've proposed and which aims to expand strategies for violence prevention and enforcement. And we will invest more resources in our law enforcement capacity to monitor social media, to learn ahead of time where these gatherings might occur and where there might be retaliation. And we are going to expand strategies for violence prevention and enforcement. So we are going to be able to prevent these shootings before they happen with these increased resources that we're bringing. And we will also work with our business community to identify those hot spots. And we are going to install surveillance cameras, improve lightings, and make direct, rapid connections to our law enforcement department to reduce response time. And we'll be adding state attorney staff to our hotspot areas, our high crime areas as well. So we're going to be creating alternative pathways for those young people who have unfortunately already started going down the wrong path, and they've already been identified by the juvenile justice system. But we know that we can help change that trajectory and keep our communities safe. All of our families deserve to live in neighborhoods that are free of crime and violence. I want to thank everybody who stands here together with us today to make this reality true for our community, to make us safe. God bless all the families who are suffering and who are struggling with this terrible scourge of violence. And God bless our law enforcement community for everything that they are doing to keep us safe each and every day. Hoy estamos anunciando la Operación Verano Caliente, una estrategia proactiva de aplicación de la ley con cero tolerancia hacia los delincuentes violentos en nuestra comunidad. Esta operación es parte importante de nuestra estrategia para mantener la seguridad y prevenir la violencia este verano. Involucrará a todas las agencias del Departamento de Policía Municipal y del Condado de Miami-Dade y las fuerzas federales y estatales. La semana pasada, nuestro condado sufrió una enorme tragedia debido a los actos despreciables de algunos malos actores violentos. Seré muy clara. Esto es absolutamente inaceptable y debemos poner fin al ciclo de violencia y a los asesinatos sin sentido. Me aseguraré de que las fuerzas del orden tengan todos los recursos que necesitan para resolver estos crímenes y prevenir la próxima tragedia. La Operación Verano Caliente es una iniciativa de lucha contra el crimen para reducir la violencia donde vivimos, trabajamos y jugamos, y ampliará la policía del condado y municipal para abordar la violencia armada y medida de que nos acercamos a los meses de verano. Identificaremos a los delincuentes violentos que están plagando nuestras comunidades y trabajaremos juntos de manera proactiva para construir sus casos. Las agencias de policía están unidas y no se equivocan, buscaremos a los delincuentes violentos. Para este pequeño porcentaje de malos actores que están aterrorizando a nuestra comunidad, enfrentará todo el peso de la ley. Para realmente detener el crimen en nuestro condado, no podemos simplemente detener a aquellos que ya cometieron los crímenes. También debemos actuar para prevenir al crimen antes de que suceda. Por eso también continuaremos trabajando en el plan de paz y prosperidad para invertir en nuestros jóvenes y apoyar a la policía para prevenir el crimen ahora y en el futuro. Gracias. Dios bendiga a todas las familias que se han visto afectadas por la violencia y Dios bendiga a las fuerzas del orden y los socorristas que se ponen en peligro todos los días para mantenernos a salvo. Gracias.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Miami-Dade County State Attorney Catherine Fernandez-Rundle.
Thank you, Mayor Levine Cava, for those very powerful words. I, too, want to echo condolences to the families that suffered so much in this last week, including yesterday. The gun violence, with its inevitable death and brutality that we have just seen over Memorial Day weekend, properly shocks every single resident and tourist that comes to Miami-Dade. We in law enforcement, we're the ones on the scene every situation. We know that gun violence is more than a single act. It is part of the deadly public health crisis that is sweeping America. We have some 100 people dying of gun violence each and every day throughout America. Think about that. 100 amounts to multiple mass shootings, which equals, it's 7 days a week, 52 weeks of the year. Think of all that suffering and how our country has become overwhelmed with gun violence. Everyone is suffering. Look at Chicago. Homicides are up 33% just in the first 3 months from 2019 to 2020. Shootings are up 40% for that same period. New York City is up by 14% in murders, and shootings are up 50%. In Philadelphia, murders jumped by 32% just through March. We're in June already. In Los Angeles, homicides have increased nearly 36% through March. And in Baltimore, the 2021 homicide numbers are up 17%. And then this one, in our capital, in Washington, D.C., there were 43% more homicides in 2021 than in 2020. This gun violence is epidemic, and it is a public health crisis, and enough is enough. We've teamed up with Director Ramirez and all these fabulous chiefs of police and law enforcement officers all across this great community. And we're going to do everything we can, working together, to stop those that are terrorizing our communities and wreaking havoc and fear. We will do everything in our power to ensure that our community, our children, our youth will not become a number in some next headline. And all of us here will not allow our community to join these other cities. We don't want to be one of them. We are better, and we can do better. We've overcome so many crises together. We can take back our streets and restore peace so that we can feel safe and be safe. We are united with Mayor Daniela Levine Cava's Peace and Prosperity Plan for the future reduction to end an intergenerational cycle of violence. It's an important plan for the future, and it will give our immediate crime-fighting initiative sustainability. As your state attorney, I know that prosecutors through the court, actually prosecutors before an arrest, and then through the court system after an arrest, are critical in restoring safety to our community. And that is what we're doing. And we commit to boost our efforts, Director Ramirez. Our crime-fighting effort can coexist with the long-term approach proposed by Mayor Levine Cava. Both can and must coexist. We have in our office our homicide rotation duty. Our policy is that every prosecutor responds to any homicide scene in all of Dade County and its 37 municipalities. Our gun violence initiative focuses on the hot zone areas of known gun violence, headed by this incredible young prosecutor, Nila Cuevo. We have a team of prosecutors, victim advocates, and detectives go to each contact shooting and homicide in those zones. The gang unit. This unit focuses on those gangs or crews, we call them these days, that run through our community, killing, maiming, and retaliating against each other. We have our career criminal unit. It focuses on the worst of the worst, the violent career criminals. We have our narcotics unit. Much of the gun violence on our streets is caused by drug turf fights. And then we have, with our acting U.S. Attorney, Tony Gonzalez, we have partnered with them on the neighborhood gun cases. We have lawyers, victims advocates, and detectives from each of those specialties I just mentioned to specifically work with this particular summer heat initiative. We will provide search warrants, arrest warrants, cell site subpoenas, whatever else is necessary through the entire court process and before and after. Finally, we will work with community members who you got to give us information. I know that there's a lot of talk, people who live in fear of retaliation, but we do have victim protection procedures. We know if you need it, we will do what we can to protect you. We will continue to do that. People want us to get the killers and guns off the street, and people want to be safe and feel safe right now. To the people of Miami-Dade County, your message is clear. We hear you, but we need you. We need you to step up and be an essential part of this anti-violence fight. We need you to step up for the victims of gun violence. Step up for 3-year-old Elijah and 7-year-old Chastity. Step up for Clayton Dilliard III. Step up for Desmond Owens. And step up for Jason Dwayne Campbell. They and their families are counting on you. La violencia que hemos visto solamente en este último fin de semana de Memorial Day, con muertes brutales que nos han dejado todos en shock. Todos nosotros aquí sabemos que esta violencia con armas de fuego no son actos individuales, sino son parte de una crisis de salud pública que está afectando a todo el país. Cada día en los Estados Unidos, 100 personas mueren por violencia con armas de fuego. Piénsalo, 100 personas, 7 días de la semana, 52 semanas al año. Tenemos que decir, basta ya.
Thank you, Ms. Fernandez-Rundle. Director Freddie Ramirez, Director of the Miami-Dade Police Department.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before I get started, I'd like to thank Chairman Pepe Diaz's staff for being here and Commissioner Hardin. And I'd also like to thank the 13 commissioners of Miami-Dade County who yesterday showed their support and their caring of this community for this scourge of gun violence. We all stand united. And when I said that zero tolerance, this is your law enforcement community. This is to the community out there. This is your law enforcement community right here standing shoulder to shoulder. Our federal partners, U.S. Attorney, State Attorney, FBI, DEA, everybody's here, plus all the Dade chiefs, all as one. We are here for you. We are focused. We mourn together as a community, and now we act together as a community. And Operation Summer Heat is a call to action, a unified call to action. It's not just a Miami-Dade police problem, it's a Miami-Dade County problem. So all 4 corners of this county know that the law enforcement community is unified together. So for 12 weeks, you're gonna have strategic enforcement, high visibility, community engagement. The community engagement is key because that's where we're going to get the information on tips. If you know of anyone that's out there illegally possession of a firearm committing a crime, we need to know because we're going to strategically remove them and put them into the justice system. Zero tolerance. But it's 12 weeks coordinated. It's going to work out of our homicide task force, sharing information, working together. I'd like to thank our mayor. I'd like to thank our state attorney, our U.S. attorney, all the calls that I've gotten from the community. And I want to show my commitment to the victims of this heinous act and all the other victims of gun violence. Tangela Sears, Mothers, Romania Dukes, all of us together, we stand united. And this is not going to stay like this. And this is going to be sustainable. And we're showing the country that we're not going to suffer like other communities are. We're united here, and we're going to protect our children. Esta operación Summer Heat es para esta comunidad, nosotros juntos, todos los policías, todos los comisionados que nos han dado el apoyo ayer, si lo viste, el soporte que han dado a nosotros para mantener esta comunidad segura. Cada parte de esta comunidad va a estar seguro. Todos los policías van a estar trabajando juntos y vamos a buscar los que están haciendo estos delitos, estos crímenes, estos asesinos que están en nuestra comunidad. Los vamos a poner presos y lo vamos a hacer juntos, unidos. Esta comunidad es unida y vamos a proteger a los niños. Les quisiera dar las gracias a la comunidad. Estamos juntos. Gracias.
Thank you, Director. Next, Chief Renee Landa, South Miami Police Department, and also President of the Miami-Dade County Association of Chief of Police.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here today to represent the Miami-Dade County Association of Chiefs of Police, Standing with me today are numerous of our most tenured chiefs of police that represent various cities within Dade County. We, as an organization, are committed to promoting efficient law enforcement services through the cooperation and coordination of all law enforcement agencies within Miami-Dade County. We are here today to wholeheartedly support Director Ramirez's, the elected leaders, the citizens of Miami-Dade County in launching Operation Summer Heat. We are one community, one county, and speak one voice to protect all of our citizens. But I want you to know also that these law enforcement officers live in our communities. Our children attend our local schools, and we gather together on Sundays with friends and families to attend our local churches. Collectively, we have had hundreds of years of policing experience, some of us from the violent 80s and 90s, and have seen too many grieving parents and victims. One grieving parent is way too many. As today we stand here with Director Ramirez to support Operation Summer Heat, and will share our resources to continue to keep Miami-Dade County as a whole safe. I would like to leave everybody with one message if I can. If you see something, say something. Say something for the victims of these senseless shootings. Say something to these criminals so we can get them off our streets. And say something so we can stop the next shooting before it happens. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Chief Art Acevedo, City of Miami Police Department.
Good afternoon. Thank you. First of all, I want to thank everyone that's here, and Mayor and State Attorney, and especially the mothers of victims that have taken these tragedies and have turned it into action in the memory of your loved ones that you lost. And I can just say, as a fairly new member of this county, I've never seen a mobilization this quick and this unified as you're seeing here. This is my fourth organization I've worked at, my third state, and I have never seen it. I can say that with 35 years, I've never seen it. We're not waiting until the state attorney talked about the numbers, how they've gone up in other cities. Let's balance this a little bit. We're still a very safe community compared to a lot of other areas. As a matter of fact, I think when you look at the homicide numbers, we're actually starting to track downward compared to where we were at this time last summer. One of the primary reasons that the mayor brought me here, Mayor Suarez, and this commissioner's court, is kind of like this elected body at the county. The number one priority in Metro Dade and all of our communities is public safety. Everything stands with safety. It's maybe a slogan to some, but for others, it's when we fail, we end up with victims, with moms. And I would just say the last thing to the crooks, we're coming after you. I can tell you that all of our investigators are working. Miami Beach, my guys are talking to them every day. Coral Gables, you name it, we are working together. We're leveraging our resources, we're leveraging our intelligence, and most importantly, we're leveraging the heart of the people of Miami-Dade. And so to the mothers, the brothers, the sisters, the aunts, the cousins of people that we're looking for, do them a favor. We're going to catch them. But the sooner we catch them, the better the chances are that they're not going to get killed themselves or kill somebody else. Let us handle it. Let us bring them to justice. I can assure you that this criminal justice system will give them a fair trial. But at the end of the day, we've got to stop that cycle of violence where it's one hit and a retaliation. The streets shouldn't bring this justice. It should be the criminal justice system. So I want to just say thank you to all my colleagues, especially our federal, state, and all the colleagues around here, and to Freddie. Thank you for bringing the heat. You know, I've been talking about it's going to be a bloody summer, and I'm glad to say that in Miami-Dade, we're going to do everything we can to keep the bloodshed to a minimum, and for that, I congratulate everybody. And very quickly, en español, quiero decirle a la comunidad que estamos aquí juntos. El alcalde Suárez, cuando me trajo aquí, y sus colegas del comisionado, lo número uno para ellos es la seguridad pública. Y le tengo un gran aprecio a todos estos liderazgos políticos aquí y de la policía que no están esperando que haya más muertes para estar todos unidos para combatir el crimen. Así que no se dejen, no tengan temor. Si estás indocumentado, no te preocupes, que aquí estamos para calar de atrás a los ladrones, a los rateros, a los asesinos y no a los inmigrantes. No tenga temor, que aquí estamos a sus órdenes. Así que adelante, le prometo que en esta área estamos unidos contra el crimen, así que llámenos el 911 porque estamos a su servicio. Gracias.
Thank you, Chief. Chief Rick Clemons, Miami Beach Police Department.
Good afternoon. It's truly a humbling experience, but also an honor to be here standing amongst these individuals today that have come together to really take on a problem that's not just specific to the country, but now starting to, I guess, materialize itself in Miami-Dade County. The Miami Beach Police Department only knows too well how important these partnerships are as we reach out to our law enforcement brothers and sisters every year to help us out during our own challenging times. And we just went through one with Memorial Day weekend, and it was 24 minutes away from being very good about that mobilization this year. And we had a senseless tragedy. I'm going to say that, senseless. We had 2 people opening up car doors that hit each other that resulted in gunfire. I'm aggravated. I have a gentleman sitting in JMH right now that will never walk again because of this senseless violence. And I'm standing here today to tell you that I feel much better about where we're going, not only as a law enforcement community, but hopefully as a community. When we all come together and we say enough's enough. And we have to do our best to be able to protect everybody that comes here, not only the residents that live here, but also our tourists. This past weekend, we took 25 firearms off the street. 25. In the past 6 years of Memorial Day weekend, we've taken 13 total off the streets. 25 in 1 year. We've taken over 200 firearms off the streets since February. So there's a problem out there. And we have to fix it. But we can only do it, we work together, and we depend on the community to be able to give us the support that we need to take people off the street that want to commit these crimes. So once again, I am truly humbled to be here today. I'm honored to be a part of this collective effort, and I know in the end we'll stand triumphant. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And if I may ask for Tangela Sears and Romania Dukes to come forward so that way you can provide some comments.
Good afternoon. First of all, I want to give condolences out to all of those families that have lost their loved ones this weekend. It was very difficult to get calls from parents listening to screams, listening to hollers. So my prayers is that this was being put forth in front of you today help you get the justice that you deserve. When I lost my son, I had already been actively involved in this community. I worked side by side with the state attorney right here in this community for over 20 years. She's been my friend. She's been my sister, even when we agreed and we disagreed. But ever since I started Florida Parents of Murdered Children, which was back in August of 2015, because prior to me creating Parents of Murdered Children, mothers like Romania did not have a voice. This, what we see today, did not exist. We didn't see the mayor, the chiefs of police uniting, saying that we're going to solve these problems. This wasn't happening. So I commend Director Ramirez. I commend Miami Beach Police Chief, because I know what he's gone through this last year. I commend South Miami Police Chief, our new Chiefs of Police President. I commend you. I commend Chief Acevedo, one of the newest cops here in Miami-Dade County. And I just want to say thank you to Director Ramirez. I want to say thank you to Chief Acevedo, because for 6 years I've cried, I've pleaded, I've begged, and I fought for the federal government to be involved with this process. No, they don't arrest those that's under 18. I know there's a task force when it deals with narcotics, when it deals with guns, or even on some cases warrants, but putting a process in place to be able to use their resources to get our killers off these streets. I say thank you. And I thank all the chiefs of police, the state attorney's office, the federal government for coming together, because that's all we ever wanted. All we want is justice. And sometimes, like what we saw in that father, I was that father you saw the other day, Monday morning. I was that father. This state attorney had to do an intervention on me. So I am no different from those families that's hurting out there. I understand their pain. I understand their grief. But I know with all of these agencies combined, one thing I know, and I'm speaking to my parents right now, I believe, even some of you all that have been waiting for 10 and 15 years, I believe justice is coming. It may not be today, it may not be next week, and it may not be next month. But I believe justice is on its way, thanks to what's being built here today.
I want to thank you, Tangela, so much for that. My name is Romania Dukes, founder of Mothers Fighting for Justice. I lost my son 10 steps away from me from senseless gun violence. And from that day on, I haven't stopped fighting for justice. Now I'm not just fighting for my son, I'm fighting for all of your kids. And I stand here with 1,000 moms on my shoulder and fathers that have lost their kids to gun violence. And I'm here to say, stop the silence. The silence must stop now. You all give us justice if you speak up. If you see something, say something. That's the only way we could receive justice. And I commend each and every officer here, and the mayor and state attorney. And I'm one of those moms. Yes, I want to see the killers and the criminals in jail. Enough is enough. We losing 1-year-old, 2-year-old babies, our grandbabies. You can't even go to the store, gas station, nowhere. This gun violence is real. It's time to loosen your ties, take off your pumps, and do something about it. The gun violence is real. It affects all of us. And I'm here to stand. I'm a living witness. I'm in pain. Every time I hear a story about somebody getting killed, a child, it tears me up. Every day I cry. Every day I cry. But I stand strong before y'all because I put on a mask. It's a facade. It's real. It's a happy face, and then when I go home, I'm screaming and hollering because I can't get that gunshot out my head. I can't get that vision from my son trying to catch his breath. And in front of 1,000, well, hundreds of people that was in the complex that didn't say they see nothing. Everybody seen something. We all know who our killers are, and it's up to our community to stand up. Our community needs to stand up and stand up now. And I'm here to say that. And right. Mayor, and my organization on June 11th, we're going to take the initiative for the Safe Summer. We're going to each and every community in down south, which is Goulds, West Perrine. We busing kids away from the gun violence and making sure they have a safe summer. We're going to go and get all these kids and just take them and have fun. Just if it's for the whole summer. I don't care how I get the money, the funding, or whatever. That's what I plan to do, and that's what I'm going to do. And thank each and every one of y'all from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Tangela, Romania. And Director Ramirez asked me to cover a little bit about Crime Stoppers because there's a lot of residents out there that really don't know how the process works or even trust the process. And Crime Stoppers is an organization, it's a nonprofit organization, it's been around forever, and it's a great tool for law enforcement to be able to solve crimes. And the beautiful thing about it is that it remains anonymous from beginning to end. When a tipster calls in Crime Stoppers, 471-TIPS or 8477, you hear reporters saying it, you hear my fellow colleagues, public information officers always say it on scenes. And when you call the tip line, you're going to provide the information that you need to give. They're not going to ask for anything of you or any personal information of you. And they're then going to provide you a tip code. And that code becomes your personal code. And they ask you to call back 30 days later. And the reason they ask you to call back 30 days later is because we don't know who you are. We can't call you to tell you, hey, we made an arrest on your case or based on your tips. You have to call us because there's no way of us knowing who you are. So they ask you to call back 30 days later and see what's the status on the case. And if in fact you do are eligible for a reward or a portion of the reward, the computer automatically says what's determines that amount or percentage. You then decide which bank you want to go to collect this money. And with that code, the bank will then know, and you identify yourself with that code. And then the general manager of that branch will then verify with Crime Stoppers to see if in fact that code is valid. And they will then give you in cash the money that you deserve. They will not ask for identification to receive that money. They will not ask any information of you or for you to sign any papers. It's just give the code, collect your money, and leave. And the reason why this is done this way is because of the fact that without the community, as you heard all of our leaders speak, without the community's help, we can't solve these cases. And without you, we cannot solve these cases. And no matter if you're calling in at 2 in the morning in your closet from a cell phone or under your bed so nobody can see you or hear you, then do it, because Crime Stoppers is 100% anonymous. In Spanish is la línea del alto al crimen, el 471 TIPS. El director Freddy Ramírez me había dicho que por favor le explicara a la comunidad que esto, cómo funciona esto y al anonimato de esta línea del alto al crimen. Y queremos decirle que todos mis colegas de los portavoces siempre estamos diciendo que llamen al 471 TIPS, el 8477. Y le decimos que llamen porque se van a permanecer anónimos en todo momento. ¿Y cómo funciona? Es muy sencillo. Si tienes información, llama, y cuando llamen te van a pedir solamente la información necesaria que tengas que dar. No van a pedir tu información personal, no van a pedir nada de uno, y después te van a dar un número privado. Y ese número privado es la responsabilidad de ustedes que nos vuelvan a llamar. Simplemente, ¿por qué? Porque no sabemos quiénes son, no sabemos quién es la persona porque eres anónimo y el anonimato existe. Ya después que tienes este código, vas a un banco de cualquier banco con un sucursal que uno quiera, y ahí es cuando entrega ese código y el gerente verifica si el código es válido y le entregan su plata. No le van a pedir información ni identificación ni que firmen papeles, sino le van a entregar su dinero. ¿Por qué lo hacemos de esta manera? Porque han escuchado todos los líderes desde que están aquí detrás de nosotros, de todas las agencias policíacas, y todos ellos han dicho lo mismo, que sin la comunidad no podemos, sin la cooperación y la comunidad no podemos resolver estos casos. Entonces llamen a la línea del alto al crimen 471 TIPS, que se van a permanecer totalmente anónimos. Tienen que tener confianza en el sistema. Now we're going to open it up for questions.
We're going to do a quick Creole with the Crime Stoppers. You wanna get
Oh, okay, perfect. Well, on this case. Yeah. And just remember, as the state attorney just mentioned, on the case that we have with the latest shooting at this over the weekend, Memorial Weekend, the reward is up to $130,000. It's $130,000 leading to the information leading to an arrest on that case. So call Crime Stoppers 471 TIPS, and we're going to have, for the Creole community, we're going to have an explanation of Crime Stoppers. And the Wynwood case, I'm being just advised, it is $30,000.
Bonsoir, nom c'est Cassandra Arnaud, directeur service résidentiel et directeur affaires haïtiennes pour magistrat Daniela Levine Carver. Je dis à moi content pour nous là avec directeur de police Miami-Dade Freddie Ramirez pour nous annoncer une campagne qui a aidé Québec Miami-Dade Safe. Comment ça semaine qui passée, nous avons pile monde qui mourit dans la communauté nous. Nous perdons pile vie dans semaine ça. Pour raison ça, nous avons imprimé un nouveau programme qui est Operation Summer Heat. Programme ça a des jeunes qui sortent dans l'area parce que chaque petit monde et famille doit sentir une sécurité. Merci à bon Dieu béni toute famille qui est affectée dans semaine ça. Si vous connaissez un monde qui a fait un crime, nous voulons les Crime Stoppers. Numéro A, c'est 305 471 TIPS. 305 471 TIPS. Merci.
How is this any different than any operation of
Well, first of all, we've never taken a day off from fighting violent crime, ever. The men and women of law enforcement here in this community have not taken one day off. What this is an enhancement. You know why? Because now we're seeing belligerent acts of violence. This is a different form of gun violence than the ones that you're seeing regularly. These are extravagant acts of vicious, brutal killings that are happening strategically. They are organized. They have a plan. So that requires, this isn't your typical operation. You're right, we've had campaigns before, but this is something that we've never seen before, and now they're going to see something they've never seen before. They're going to see a law enforcement community united, working as one.
Exactly what is part of the 12-week initiative? Like, what exactly happens over the next 12 weeks? You stepped up enforcement, and you said it was running out of your homicide.
Yes.
Unit, but what's running out of there?
This whole campaign, the sharing of information, as we spoke on other press conferences, a lot of this violence is permeating from the social media. There's a lot of information coming on. I get regular calls from the chiefs. I'm hearing this, I'm seeing that. So what I decided was, let's just put us all together, because our bad guys don't have jurisdictional lines. They'll be in one part of they'll be up in Miami Lakes and end up with Chief Taylor down south. They'll be with Rick at the beach. So we have to all hold ground, stay where we're at, be vigilant, be strategic in our enforcement. This is not about stats. This is about results. We're going to have high visibility to deter. So, because what I'm tired of hearing, and I don't like hearing, is I hear residents saying it's not safe to live here. All around. We can't have, in our challenge communities, all our business communities, we cannot have that. So we are going to have visibility. We want our children to be safe. And in the community component, because this is about trust, none of this will work without trust in the community. And that's what that component's for. Dialogue, information, explaining, getting information from our community leaders. This is all one. Law enforcement, community together. That's what makes this one so special. 12 weeks of summer, and now school is going to be out. Our kids were just in school for a little while. Now they're coming back out with a lot of angst, a lot of adrenaline, and everything's opened up. We got to be very vigilant right now. Absolutely. A lot of these violent acts you're seeing on the social media, you see them calling each other out. They're giving verbal cues. Some of the songs have verbal cues that are triggering rolling violence, real-time violence. So back in the 90s, it was turf wars, drug turf wars. Here's a little bit of that, but a lot of it is showing off, calling out, and acting on it. And that's a different realm that we're dealing with. You're seeing it around the country, and we really have to adapt to this. And the way we're going to adapt is all together. That's why every piece of information that's out there, you see a flyer of some kind of illegal party, you see a comment, whatever it is, we need to know about it. That'll be funneled through 471 tips to our command post. Our investigators are there. We'll collaborate that. We'll deploy resources where it needs. Every municipality, if it affects them, they will know about it and they will address it.
For the state attorney.
I just want to mention about code enforcement. This is something different that we're deploying round the clock, that there are these venues that we need to shut them down if they're not doing the right thing. That's new too.
You addressed it. All in this room, we could solve this in our community by the time we get in our vehicles if somebody picked up the phone. You talked about additional protections. Mr. Zavaleta talked about the confidentiality provisions in this. Obviously, when you take custody, and the due process rights. Talk about those additional protections to make sure that people in our community who do come forward are protected. I assume you don't have the resources like Mr. Piro to send them Montana.
Well, the feds always have everything bigger and better. This is for sure. But no, I really, on a very serious note, I'm not sure that everyone is fully aware that every single police chief here, if they have a victim or a witness that they believe or that person believes they need a protection application, they sign off on it, they send it to our office, we sign off on it, and then oftentimes they'll put them in hotel rooms, they'll move them to other cities. Sometimes we find them coming back because they want to come back. But so that, I say that because last night someone told me that he was at a community meeting and everybody said, we don't want to say anything because we're afraid. And part of it is they see the shooters out on the street. They see them down the street. They see them on the corner. They see them at the store. So they fear that they're not going to be able to get arrested, so they stay quiet. And as long as they stay quiet and there's all those guns, more guns have been sold in the United States this year than in any year in the history of the United States. Think about that. The police are outgunned, the community's outgunned. And so we really need everybody to come forward. And we'll do everything we can. We'll work with our federal partners to see if they can give even better protection than we can at the local level.
Quien se siente más cómodo para responder en español. Hemos escuchado durante todos estos días hablar sobre el estrés, sobre el encierro, sobre lo que generó la pandemia en muchas de estas personas que hoy salen a hacer lo que están haciendo. Pero hechos como los del sábado, los del domingo, no pueden convertirse en una tendencia y que quede solamente en una cifra que aumenta el porcentaje de delincuencia. Pues, operativamente, ¿cómo van a hacer para eliminar a este mal elemento de las calles?
Lo que sabemos es el mal elemento es un poquito, un porcentaje chiquito de esta comunidad, no es la comunidad. So, nosotros con todos estos recursos va a ser efectivo para parar esta violencia. Lo que falta en esta operación es la comunidad, y la comunidad ha estado ayudando. Con el caso que estamos ahora, con lo que pasó el sábado, hemos recibido muchas pistas. La comunidad está en the fight, pero ahora cuando todo el mundo está en la calle, ahora le da chance a estas personas que quieren actuar con violencia por algo estúpido, pueden ir a estas locaciones que saben que ellos están ahí, empiezan a bailar y a tirar a ellos y no le importa quién está parado ahí. So, lo que pasa es que la gente inocente están sufriendo. Lo que tiene nada que ver con esto, están pagando el precio, y las familias también. So, eso es porque es importante que trabajamos juntos, la comunidad y la policía y todas otras agencias juntos para resolver este problema.
Una pregunta, por favor, en español. Estamos hablando de una operación específica de verano. Lo que había preguntado en inglés, ¿cuál es la diferencia respecto a otras operaciones que habéis llevado a cabo y cuáles son esas estrategias específicas? Estabais hablando de mayor número de cámaras, estabais hablando, si no he entendido mal, creo que de equipos de 17 equipos, creo que habéis comentado.
Sí.
¿Me podéis decir eso en español?
Sí, lo que es diferente que en otras ocasiones, cuando siempre estamos fajando violencia, especialmente de armas, siempre, nunca hemos cogido un día libre en fajando eso. Lo que estamos viendo ahora es que estos casos son más grandes, más violentos. Está pasando en cualquier hora del día, están matando gente inocente. No son asaltos que están uno a uno, no, ellos están afectando a todo el mundo. So, el problema es que tenemos que trabajar juntos, porque ellos no creen en locaciones, ellos no se quedan en la ciudad de Miami o se quedan en los hammocks, no, ellos van por todos lados. So, para trabajar esto mejor es que todo el mundo tiene su área y lo aguanta, y comunicamos juntos, y cualquier información que cogemos vamos a actuar en eso, mucha vigilancia, mucha estrategia en arrestando lo que están haciendo estos crímenes. Esta operación no es por número, no, es para results, para que bajamos el crimen, no para decir que hicimos 500 y pico arrestos, no es eso. Queremos parar la violencia, queremos traer la exención, que estamos seguros en esta comunidad. Esto porque es lo que estamos logrando en esta operación.
Sí, una pregunta. Parte del operativo también es esa falta de confianza que hay en ciertas comunidades con la policía.
Sí.
Hace falta reforzar.
Sí, nosotros tenemos buena relación con la comunidad, pero eso se tiene que trabajar hora por hora. Y eso porque quiero decirle a la comunidad, nosotros no estamos enfocando en una parte de la comunidad, estamos enfocando en el condado entero. Esta operación es por eso, para todos, que todo el mundo se siente seguro, que nuestros niños y niñas viven seguros. Todo el mundo en este condado, las 4 áreas de este condado, va a estar seguro por todos estos oficiales y la alcaldesa y el fiscal, todo el mundo trabajando junto con la ayuda de la comunidad. Ese trust, esa confianza es lo más importante. Este plan no va a trabajar si no hay confianza. Y aquí en esta comunidad, si tú ves por el país, no hay confianza. Aquí sí hay. Lo que hay aquí es miedo. Y yo le quiero asegurar a la comunidad que nosotros te vamos a proteger y que no tengas miedo a hablar, porque lo que va a pasar es que alguien que tú quieras puede ser el próximo víctima. Tenemos que trabajar juntos y tenemos que todos juntos.
Un programa similar logró bajar el 40% en Detroit. ¿Pueden mejorar ese porcentaje?
Yo no estoy mirando en percentajes, yo estoy mirando que la violencia para. Esta operación es para aquí, para Miami-Dade County. Estos son todos los técnicos que hemos hecho antes. Lo que estamos haciendo es uniéndolo todo junto, todos los departamentos, toda la gente de la comunidad juntos para este Miami-Dade County. Eso porque Miami-Dade County es especial. Nosotros no somos con las otras comunidades que están sufriendo ahora. Aquí resolvemos nuestros problemas juntos, comunidad y la policía y también los organizadores del gobierno. Gracias.
Nice.